Hi, this is Darren from SimNation. Just continuing on the videos with the situations and what matters in those situations. So we're going to focus on passing the ball. So for passing, there are a couple of things in play here. Of course, there is throwing the ball, which is largely the quarterback. There's catching the ball, which is largely wide receivers, tight ends, or running backs. And then there is blocking. Now, when you're throwing the ball, a couple things are in play here. So you need to complete the pass, which on the quarterback's end is largely going to focus on, let me find somebody, which is largely going to focus on arm accuracy and intelligence. Um, Now, competitiveness does come into play here. There's a certain degree of leadership, and I'll talk about that in a second. And there's also avoiding the interception. So that's where skill will come into play. And then the ones I already mentioned, which is arm intelligence and accuracy. Now, the key thing to keep in your mind here is the type of ball you're throwing is which one matters most. So if you're throwing long, arm matters. If you're throwing short, accuracy matters. Uh, if you're throwing medium, you can get away with either arm or accuracy. But really, when you're trying to complete a pass and trying to avoid interceptions, you'll notice that those are kind of your holy grails. Now, competitiveness is something that often gets overlooked. It's important, especially when you're trying to complete a pass or you're trying to um, just do different things with wide receivers and things. Avoiding an interception, work ethic matters. So just keep that in the back of your mind. But one of the things I think that gets underplayed with quarterbacks specifically is leadership. I think leadership plays a little bit more in completing a pass than what most people think it is. Now, I have McCloskey up for a reason, because what you're going to notice about McCloskey is Melvin throws a lot of long balls, right, or medium. 93, 95, 86. This guy should be completing passes left, right, and center because he's got a great arm, great intelligence. His work ethic is pretty good. His competitiveness is pretty good, but his leadership is lacking. So what I will tell you about him is he doesn't throw many interceptions. You can see that. He threw one the whole season, but he also sucked at completing the ball. And part of that had to do with the wide receivers. But the reality is I do think leadership played a little bit of a role in that. Now, when you talk about wide receivers, you'll see some of this here. Um, we'll choose Hess because I think he's probably the better example. To complete a pass, the wide receiver has to be able to catch it. So that means hands, agility are traditionally the two skills most tied to catching. Intelligence matters because it means he's where he's supposed to be. Height matters because in height matchups with defensive backs, if the person's shorter, it's going to be a little bit harder. And then just like what we talked about before with like avoiding fumbles, uh, competitiveness matters as well. So um, what you'll see here is his agility is pretty good. His hands are pretty good. He's got good speed, so he'll get separation. He's not as tall as other people, and his competitiveness is not as great. But Hess is someone who generally is going to catch the ball very well. I don't think he has a trait. Well, his trait doesn't play into this. So what you see is he generally did catch the ball, and he was able to do things with the ball once he got it. He doesn't drop many passes. So he had 128 targeted at him. He only dropped two. That's actually a pretty good ratio. Um, so when you're thinking about completing the pass, just again, keep in mind hands, agility are really, really important, but also factor in their competitiveness, their height, and their intelligence. With height, you generally want someone above 6 feet tall. Um, but again, if you're going up against 6'3" defensive backs and guys are 6 feet tall, you may have some issues. The other thing just to keep in the back of your mind is intelligence does matter. Try to get it above 55 if you can. The higher it is, the better. Um, just because that means that they're going to be in position to catch the ball a lot more. So if you look like at Darren Smith catches a lot of his passes. So targeted 57 times, caught 40 of them. He does drop quite a bit, and part of that has to do with competitiveness. But his hands are also not as good. But he generally is in a pretty good position to catch balls most of the time. And then the last piece of this is blocking. So blocking is not much different than, won't be much different than the rushing part of this. So strength does matter, pass block, agility, hands factor into this, and then of course weight does factor into this. So Austin is universally considered to be one of the better blockers in the league. You can see his strength isn't great, but it's not bad either. He has decent agility for a tackle. It's not as good as it could be, and that's one of the reasons why he'll sometimes miss blocks. He's a very good pass blocker. Hands of 28 is actually decent. So when we look at him, what you'll notice is that he does miss blocks. He does allow sacks, but he also flattens people pretty constantly. The guy who was on the other side of him is, I think, actually gone. Yeah, he is. Otherwise, I would show you him and you'd see that that guy just mauls people. But you can see McGrew is none of my guys really have agility. The one dude had 50. So again, agility matters because it factors into being able to position yourself to be able to block well, pass block, and then strength allows you to handle strong defensive ends or defensive tackles. And then hands is just an augmental. Like the 4 on McGrew means that he's going to struggle a little bit, but generally, if their weight is above 300 pounds, they're going to do okay. That's pass blocking in a nutshell. Again, trying to keep these videos short and sweet. Hopefully that helps you a little bit, and I'll put the link to Wolverine Studios in there.